Let us solve the exercise number 4 in the part A of C programming. In this particular exercise, we are supposed to create a program to calculate and display first n Fibonacci numbers. So before we venture into solving this particular problem, let's first try to understand what is Fibonacci number, and then we will be able to appreciate what we are trying to do. So Fibonacci numbers are the numbers that are of this Fibonacci series is this sequence. So you can notice over here, this is the sequence for the Fibonacci, that is 0, 1. So Fibonacci number starts with the first two elements, that is any Fibonacci series has the two default values, one is 0 and 1. This is followed by the next numbers. How do you get the next two digit? So Fibonacci series has these two elements as the starting element, that is 0 and 1. How to get the next element? To get the next element, you sum the previous two elements. So 0 plus 1, you know very well, 0 plus 1 is 1. So how to get the next element? So if you take these two elements, sum of the previous two elements, so 1 plus 1, if you add this 1 plus 1, you are going to get this 2. How to get the next element? So go to the, if you want to get this element, go to the previous two elements, find their sum. So 1 plus 2, if you notice this 1 plus 2 is going to be 3, and you are going to get this one. So how did you get this number 21? To get this 21, you have to go to the previous two series values, that is the previous two values of the series, and add them. So previous two values were 8 and 13. If you add this 8 and 13, you are going to get the next element. So this is the idea of generating Fibonacci series. So you must be happy that the Fibonacci series as such were first known to the, or first described by the Indian mathematicians. Okay, even though in book it was mentioned as Fibonacci, but Indians knew very well this Fibonacci series, and it is to do with the Sanskrit poetry. You can go to the Wikipedia and learn more about it. This is actually a very interesting sequence, not because it was generated by Indians, because many of the biological things have something in common in nature. For example, if you look at the arrangement of the leaves, or maybe the sprouts of pineapple, okay, and so on, everywhere you get that sequence, how that arrangement is done, the natural arrangement is done. You can read more about it because I'm here to solve the problem. I will not go in depth into the Fibonacci series. You can learn more about it, how the Sanskrit poetry made use of them. It is there in the Wikipedia, and how European people got this one, and definitely I have to, because this name came from Fibonacci, I have to definitely show the person. In book, it was given by an Italian mathematician called Fibonacci. Okay, but it was known to Indian long before this was put in the book. You can notice that it was put in 1222, but for Indians, look at the history over here. So it was as early as 200 BC. Very, very earlier, Indians knew about this particular sequence. With that, let me continue with the program, because I'm not here to discuss about the history, but history is definitely interesting one. So let's look at how to generate this Fibonacci series. So this is our task. Now I assume that let me assume that A is equal to 0. Why I'm taking A is equal to 0? What is the reason? The reason is because according to the Fibonacci series, the first two elements, that is starting from 0 and 1, sorry, these zeros and ones are the default elements. So Fibonacci series has two elements, zeros and ones. They are fixed. The third element you can get it by finding the sum of the first two elements. So I assume that the first element is A, which is 0. Second element is B, which is 1. So let's go ahead and let's see how we can get this. So let me assume that A is equal to the first element. Let me take one more variable. B is equal to 1. Now how to get the next element? So let's assume that the next element is C. So in other words, if you are getting confused, so this is your where is it gone? So this is your Fibonacci series. I'm going to take this first element as A, second element as B, and the third element I'm going to take it as C. So this is going to be my A, this is going to be my B, and this is going to be my C. Just the variables, three variables I'm going to take. And again, how to go about building this sequence. So let's go ahead and let's build this one. So I'm going to go over here. Let's say A is equal to 0. That's the first element. Okay. Then B is equal to 1. The next element. Two elements are default. Okay. How to get the third element? Third element is the sum of the previous two elements. Now first element was A. I taken variable as A. Next element is B. So this is going to be A is 0. You notice here, so this I'm taking the variable, so value of A is 0, so I'm putting it value of A is 0 plus the value of B. If you notice over here, the value of B is 1, so I'm just adding A plus B, I'm adding them. So this 0 plus 1 happens to be slightly down here, so 0 plus 1 is equal to 1, so C is 1. How to get this is going to complete my first set. Now how to get the next sequence? So how to get the next sequence? So let's go ahead and let's look at the next sequence. How do we, where is it? How do we get the next sequence? So I started by saying that this is A, 0 and B is 1. Add them together, you're going to get C. Now what is that you're supposed to do is you have to shift this A by one step. So instead of taking 0, remember previous two elements. So I was here, previous two elements. Now I am here, previous two elements. So take this as A, take this as B, and you are going to get C. So this is how you are going to get. Now how do you get this third element here? So this element you are going to get it by taking the, remember you are up to here, so you started from A, go to the next element, take this one as A, take the 2 as B, and take the 3 as C. So you just shift one element at a time. So if you look at here, so what you're doing is initially you take the first two elements, that is 0 and 1 as A and B, calculate C. Then what you do is shift A to the next location. So these two, A and B, find C. Next time what you are doing is take this two, A and B, go to the next element. So just shift the value. So previously A and B were here. Next time shift this A by one location, shift this A by one location, shift B by one location. Find the next element. How do you get the next element? Again, shift this A by one location, shift B by one location, you're going to get the next element. So let's try to do that thing. I'm going to show it here mathematically how or technically how we'll do it in your program. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to take A is 0, that is my initial value, sorry, A is 0, and B is 1, that is my second value. How do you get to this C? C is equal to A plus B. That is the sum of the previous two elements. Remember, 0 and 1 are the two default elements. They are the fixed elements. The Fibonacci series starts with the zeros and ones. Then it will continue from that point onwards. So what is this A? A value is 0 and B value is 1. So I'm going to add this one. So this is equal to, this is nothing but A is 0. Sorry, A is 0. B is 1, so 0 plus 1 is 1. Now what is that we are supposed to do? So we are supposed to shift this A to B. So that means A will take the value of B, shift A by one location and shift B by the next element. So that is what we are supposed to do it. So A will take the value of B, B will take the value of C. So how do we go about doing this? So let me put a dash here. So this is my one element I have discovered. This is one element I have discovered. How do you get the second element? Second element, A will take the value of B. So this is what I have written. A will take the value of B. What is the value of B? You know very well, value of B is nothing but 1. Okay, you notice that value of B is 1. Now what's the next thing? B will take the value of C. So B will take the value of C. This is what you are doing. B will take the value of C. What is C? A plus B. A plus B is 0 plus 1, that is 1. So this is B is going to be 1. Okay. What is C now? So how do you get this C? C is equal to, again same thing, A plus B. But this time, what is A? A is, don't look at this one. Don't look at this one. This is assigned. Now A is assigned the value 1. Remember, A is assigned the value 1 and B is assigned the value 1. So what is this now? A is 1. Just look at the values there. A is 1 and B is 1. So 1 plus 1 is going to be 2. So that will complete the second element. So we have discovered the second element. Now the same sequence has to be done. So what is that we are supposed to do it? Now A will take the value of B. Okay. B will take the value of C. So that is what we are going to do. So A is equal to the value of B. Okay. What is the value of B? In this case, value of B is 1 here. Okay, this value of B is 1. So I'm going to say A is equal to B, that is 1. What about this B here? So B is going to take the value of C. So B is going to take the value of C. What is the C here? So C is nothing but value of a new computed value of C is this one 2. So we are going to say C is 2. Okay. So this remember this I'm just writing here for understanding. So new value of A is 1 now. New value of B is 2 now. Now let's calculate the value of C. How do you get the value of C? C is equal to A plus B. So what is A now? A value, you know very well, A value is 1, B value is 2. So this is going to be 1 plus 2. That's going to be 3. How to get the next value? So same step you are supposed to follow. So in other words, how do you get the next value? So next value you can get it. Step is same. So what is that we are supposed to do? A will take the value of B. So what is the value of A will take the value of B. So what is this? A will take the value of B. Okay. So what is the value of B? Value of B in this case is 2. So I'm going to say it is 2. B will take the value. So B will take the value. Let me say value of C. So B will take the value of C. What is the value of C? So in this case, value of C is 3 here. So this is the 3 here. So B is 3 now. Again, remember, these are the values taken by A is 2 now, B is 3 now. So don't worry about this one. This is just assignment that I've done. So A is 2 now, B is 3 now. Now let's go ahead and let's calculate the C. So C is equal to A plus B. So new value of A is 2 and new value of B is 3. So it is 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So you keep on doing it until n elements. So they said first n element. So what is the meaning of saying first n element? First n element means, suppose if they say n is equal to, what is this? Okay. Suppose if they say n is equal to 3. So how many elements will be there? So n is equal to 3 means 3 elements. So this is the first element, this is the second element, this is the third element. Okay. So what if they say n is equal to, they say n is equal to 7. So how many elements you have to print? This is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, up to 7 element. So up to here you are supposed to print all the values. So this is how we are going to do it. So for our program, what is the required? So we assume that first element is A, second element is B, and we are going to calculate C. So we assume that this is A, this is B, and this is C. So three variables are required, and we must know n, that is how many elements. So n equal to 7, n equal to, and so on. Also we must know how many elements we have printed. So we start with the value I. So I is equal to 1 means first element, I is equal to 2 means second element, third element, fourth element, and so on and so forth until the last element. So we are supposed to print the value from up to that point. So let's go ahead and let's do the program. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to the file, and I'm going to say new, and I'm going to say file. So I will go to the file and I'm going to say C++ source file. I click go, and you go next and select C as your favorite programming language. Remember, always remember, you have to store it in a proper location where your teacher has told you to save it. And I'm going to save it as a Fibo. So a small name, I'm going to give it as a Fibo, and let's go ahead and let's click save, and I'm going to just finish it off. So it's going to go over here. To use the input output, I'm going to say include stdio.h. So this is my header file, and if required, I'm going to use the console input output. For if you are using the, which is that old Turbo C, then you have to use include, where is this here, include console out Tonio. This is not required for if you're using code blocks, this is not required. Okay, so I'm not going to use that thing. Remember, if you're using Turbo C, that particular file is required because you're going to use getch at the end. The getch is not declared in the stdio.h. You know very well, C program has the one important function, and that function is called as main. And I am saying here void main means the main will not return anything. So that's simple as that. We need variables a, b, c. Okay, and I need to know what is the maximum limit, that is n number of elements. And in order to keep a count of how many elements I printed, I'm going to use the value I. Now we know very well that where is it gone? The Fibonacci series has the first two elements as 0 and 1s. These are the default elements. So I'm going to take A is equal to 0, okay, B is equal to 1. This is the default, not B1, B is equal to 1, and then onwards I have to calculate it. Now first let's fix the few simple thing. Let me first read the element, how many elements we are supposed to print. So I'm going to say printf, and I'm going to say enter the number of elements. Okay. See here, I put one space here, so that is important. If you don't put the space, it will just touch when you type the output. It will just touch that thing. If you don't put space after elements, whatever input you give, it will just touch that thing, and it won't look nice. So just put one extra space before the double quotes. So let's go ahead with the, I need to read the value of n. Remember, this whole story will start when somebody says the value of n. If somebody says value of n is 8, then you need to calculate the first 8 elements of the Fibonacci series. So it depends on what is the value of n. So when the user, we are going to ask the user what is the value of n. Based on that, we are going to modify our, or based on that, we are going to compute the number of elements. So let's go with the scanf. Okay, and I'm going to read the integer value, that is %d, and you know very well you have to give the address of n, not just the n. So if you give the n, it's not going to work. This is the address of n. So I've read the value of n now. So that means now I know what is n is fixed to me. So n is 7, n is 5, or whatever it is fixed to me. Now when the user say 5, I am supposed to get the 5 elements of the Fibonacci series. Now it's my task. Let's go ahead with the first few things. What if the user says n is equal to 1? So what is the meaning of saying n is equal to 1? I want the first element of the Fibonacci series, that is 0. Okay, simple as that. So you got it, very straightforward. What if the user says n is equal to 2? You don't need to do any calculation because first two elements are the default elements of the Fibonacci series, that is 0 and 1 are the default element of the Fibonacci series. The Fibonacci series starts with the 0 and 1. So it starts with that. You don't need to do anything. Third element onwards, you are supposed to calculate. Okay. So let's go ahead with that thing. So remember that particular thing. So if n is equal to 1, answer is straightforward, it is 0. If n is equal to 2, the answer is straightforward, it is 2. If n is equal to 3, 4 and so on and so forth, then we have to do some things over here. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's take care of that. So I'm going to just say I'm going to print the Fibonacci series. So I'm going to say Fibonacci, I think CCI was there, Fibonacci series, SERIES, and if you want you put /n. Okay, that is the next line. If you want you put it, otherwise you can just leave it as it is. And let's start with the first case. What if the person says n is equal to 1? That means to say that I want just the first element of the Fibonacci series. You don't need to do any calculation because it is a straightforward thing. First element is always there in the Fibonacci series. So there is no need that you put this thing over the flower bracket over here, but I'm going to, for a brevity, I'm going to just put the flower bracket, not required because it's going to be one line itself. So I'm going to say print f, and I'm going to say percentage, there is a percentage d, and I'm going to print the value of a. Remember, you can straight away print, instead of this you can write this one also. So print 0. This is straightforward because you know very well a value is 0, that's first value. You don't need to, but for the brevity of the program, I will assume that this is 1 and I'm going to print this one. Okay. Now else if n is greater than 1, that means next element n is greater than 1 means 2, 3, 4 and so on. Remember, I told you our calculation will start only from the third element. Remember, first two elements will be there. So these two elements, this is C is equal to A plus B. This from third element you will start calculating this calculation. So your calculation will start from the third element. So first two elements are default element. We will print the first two elements. So I'm going to go over here. If n is greater than 1, I'm going to say, let me go over here, and I'm going to say print the first two elements. Remember, n is equal to 2 means you have to print two elements. So that's simple as that. So I'm going to go over here. Again, you can print 0 and 1 and put one space like this. So, but for a brevity, I'm going to just say this is the first element, space, second element, space, and what is the thing, I'm going to print the value of a and b. If only two elements are there, then print the value of a and b. What is a? A is 0, b is 1. So you are going to, if somebody says just give me two elements, you are going to say a and b. You don't do any calculation because these are default elements. Third element onwards, if somebody says give me the third element, then you will have to go c is equal to a plus b, first previous two element. Okay. From third you are going to start with the next one. So I'm going to go repeatedly, I'm going to print the values. So how do I going to do it? You know very well, because if you have to repeat the steps again and again and again, you have to use a looping structure. I'm going to use the for loop. So for I is equal to 3, that means from the third element, how many elements I have to go until I reaches the value of n. Let me put I plus plus. So what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? If suppose somebody says I want 10 elements of the Fibonacci series, so n is equal to 10. So in that case, first two elements you will not waste your time in calculating, because these are the first two elements are the default elements. Every Fibonacci series has this zeros and ones. They are the default one. You don't need to calculate. You have to calculate the third element. How do you calculate the third element? You know very well. Third element is if you take this one as A and if you take this one as B. Third element you are going to calculate is C is equal to A plus B. Okay, this is the third element. So this is I'm going to take I is equal to 3, third element. What about this element? This element is a next element. So I is a next element is fourth element. How do you calculate fourth element? First you shift A to the value of B, then you shift the B to the value of C, and again do the same calculation. Remember, you are shifting the value of A and B. So A will take the value 0, B will take the value 1. Recalculate. C is equal to A plus B. That is the sum of the previous two elements. That is 1 plus 1. That is 2. So you are going to get the fourth element. How to get the next element? What is the next element? I is equal to 5. How to get the first next element? Again, you have to shift this A to the next element, B to the next element, and then calculate this. So previous two, sum of the previous two. Again, the next element. Sorry. Again, this next. What is this? Again, this next element, that is I is equal to 6. How long you have to go? I is equal to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and when are you going to stop? When I is equal to 10, you have to keep on doing it. So that is what I have written here. So I will start from 3 and I will go until I becomes equal to n. When I becomes equal to n, you are going to stop the thing. What is that? How do you get the third element? By the way, how do you get the third element? Now third element is obtained. Where is the mouse pointer? I'm not getting it. Okay, no. This is first two element. This is the third element. So how do you get it? So A is equal to, this is A, this is B, and this is going to be C. C is equal to A plus B. This is your third element. So let's write that thing. So I'm going to go over here. Now how do you get the third element? C is equal to A plus B. And I'm going to just print this value. It's not enough if you just calculate this value. So I'm going to say percentage D and then a space. Remember, I have put a space here, whether you can notice it or not. I have put a space here, and also after this I'm putting a space here. The reason why I'm doing it, otherwise all the numbers will start coming like this. If you don't put the, what is this? If you don't put this number, then it will come 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, and so on. So this is going to be your telephone number, not the series. So I want the spaces in between 1, 1, 2, and so on. So that space I'm adding here, extra space I have to add there. So let me go here and let me print the value of C. So C is calculated. Now what is the next thing you are supposed to do it? So you have this A, default value of A is, A was there, default value of where is this term? B is there, and the default value of I mean you calculated the value of C. So this is A was there, this was B, and this is what you said. C is equal to A plus B. Now what is the next thing you are supposed to do? A has to take the next value. A has to take the value of B. So A will take the value of B, and B will take the value of C. So A will have to take the value of A is equal to B, and B will take the value of C, and the same thing you have to repeat it. Again calculate C. So the same idea. So A will calculate, so A will take the value of B, next element, and B will take the value of C, and this story has to be repeated. So A is equal to B, B is equal to C, and this story will come back again. C is equal to A plus B. You keep on doing like this. You keep on doing until I becomes equal to N. When I becomes equal to N, you just stop the program. So I'm going to press Control yes, very important. Otherwise, you can click on this save all, and then let me debug it and build and run this program. So I'm going to build and run this particular program. Let's see what is the output of our program, or if there is any error. Let's see whether there is any error in the program. So there was no syntax error as such. So let's look at this story. So I'm going to say I want the n is equal to 1. That means I want to print only one element of the series. So what you notice, the first element of this Fibonacci series is 0. You got that thing. Let me run this one again, and let me say I want two elements of the Fibonacci series. So two elements of the Fibonacci series is 0 and 1. Remember, don't worry about this one. If this is bothering you now, when you come to the final semester, this will bother you much, because you have to then calculate the execution time for a given program. Okay. So let's go to the next story. Let me go to the next, and the next is a 3 element. So what is 3? So this is C is equal to A plus B. A is 0, B is 1, this is C. So you got that. Let's go ahead and let's run it for, I'm going to just type 10 elements, because it's not going to be worthwhile showing the remaining element. So are we getting this 10 elements? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it 10? My mouse is betraying me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. I hope the 10 is there. My mouse is not happy with me, so it's not showing me the position. Let me say, I think I got the 10 elements there. So this is let me compare it. That's easier. The 10th element has to be okay. This is it is starting from 0. Remember, it is starting from 0, so that means it is 9 element. 0, 1, 2, 3 means 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means 10. Okay, so you are starting from 0. So the 10th element is 34, and I am getting the 34. That's all in this short video. We will meet again in the other class. Thank you.